El futuro tiene nada más que la confrontación.
Hey, welcome to You Don't Even Like This Show. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. I used to host a podcast called Unpopular Opinion, and that podcast was this podcast. But then everyone else in the world decided they liked the name Unpopular Opinion a lot too, so we changed the name to You Don't Even Like This Show. Each week, me and a couple of guests selected from a pool of the absolute sharpest minds the LA entertainment scene has to offer use this here space to talk about whatever the hell we want. News, pop culture, politics, information, you name it, we talk about it. And sometimes my co-host Jeff May is here too. It's a blast. You're gonna love it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Don't Even Like This Show, a podcast about news, pop culture, information, technology, Nazis, whatever the hell we want to talk about. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. Joining me as co-host this week, my favorite co-host of all, no co-host, but I do have a fantastic guest who is my co-host on other podcasts. I'm just very territorial. Logan Trent is here.
Hey.
How's it going? Yeah,
it's pretty much as high as it's going to get for me. Yeah,
That's about where everyone should be. That should be everyone's ceiling, at least, is, If you're any happier than that, again, Nazi.
Yeah, Nazi, or there's something wrong with you. Like, I don't own any TV or technology. I'm disconnected from the outside world. Yeah.
We were supposed to have a second guest, comedian Corey Robinson, and I would like to apologize on the podcast because I send out a booking email every month and it has a bunch of dates. And I didn't notice when Corey responded, he said, yeah, I can do March 18th. I didn't have anything scheduled for March 18th, but I just replied to Corey and said, cool, let's do March 19th. I'll send you notes. So we were never really on the same page about when he was going to do the podcast. So I take full responsibility for Corey not being here, and we'll get him on another episode in the future. In the meantime, let me and Logan be your guides on another local news roundup episode. There is some horrifying shit in this. I'm not going to lie.
Like, not even just the horrifying shit you probably know. This is horrifying shit you have no idea about.
Yeah. It's pretty harrowing stuff. I would even argue this very first story is a little frightening. It's my nightmare, I'll tell you that much. A foghorn in Narragansett, Rhode Island. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it. Narragansett, probably. Put a little twang on it. Narragansett.
Narrag and Seti, I believe.
A foghorn in that town has been going off, Logan, every 30 seconds for weeks on end, and there is no signs of it stopping anytime soon. Kill me.
So like when pandemic started, a bunch of people started staying home a lot because they couldn't go anywhere. And apparently my neighbors are dicks because they would just leave their dogs out on the porch all day. So I'd just be like trying to work from home and just be hearing a lot of like that.
Yeah.
And that broke me after like a week. I can't imagine dealing with this shit every 30 seconds for weeks on it.
Yeah, that is a nightmare. I used to, very briefly, when I left South Dakota, I lived in New York for a few months, and I split my time between Manhattan and this town in kind of upstate New York, but not like way upstate, mid-state New York, I guess no one calls it, called Montgomery was the town I was in. And I lived across the street from the fire station, and they would set off the fire horn every day at noon. And even that, I was like, I died, right? I died, and this is my hell. This happens every day. And it went on for like 2 or 3 minutes. It's like, why? My ex actually went and asked them to stop doing it. And they were like, people like it. No, they don't. And if you do, stop.
There's a great quote in there from a resident where they say, it's annoying. It's extremely annoying.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Great summary right there.
And I think that's the same person who was like, in small doses, it just reminds you of your childhood.
Yeah, the good old days.
But
Some are like, it's not that bad when you're inside the house, but when you get outside, it's pretty bad. So yeah.
yeah, I am very nostalgic for a pork tenderloin sandwich, having grown up in the Midwest. But if you gave me one every 30 seconds, that would get old in a minute. Like 1 minute, I would be over it. Absolutely over it. And yeah, this is because of a mechanical issue, according to the Coast Guard. You might be wondering why they don't just fix it. And the answer is, I'm not 100% sure why. No one is, apparently. There's some structural issue with this foghorn. And because of that, the Coast Guard is like, we can't even fucking go to the thing, much less get up there and fix it. So
you just have to let it go off. Otherwise, if you keep coming in every single time, they just get used to it. Like you have to let them get through the night. Just, you got to wean them off of it.
Yeah, they're going to have to bomb this thing or something. Because at that point, also, it's not even an effective foghorn.
Yeah, it's the horn that cried fog.
Yeah. You're going to go outside one day after hearing that foghorn and be like, pshaw, there's no fog out here. And then you walk into a car.
Yeah. Or it's that fog from like the fog that turns you inside out, like in the horror movies.
Or the mist.
Yeah.
Where you shoot your family in a car as the army is yards away. Sorry, everyone.
What an incredible ending of a movie.
And it's not how the book ends. Imagine taking that creative liberty when making the movie. It's like, no. Mass suicide would be a little bit better.
I will say Thomas Jane really fucking sells the I fucked up you wail that he has at the end. Just fantastic performance there.
Oh, fucking love that movie. But yeah, if I was living by this foghorn, I would throw myself off a goddamn bridge. No, thank you. I came dangerously close to moving into a house in Burbank at one point that was right in the flight path of Southwest Airlines. It was like super cheap. It was a nice neighborhood. I was like, what? What's the catch here? And as we're going through the house, just the loudest airplane sounds every 5-10 minutes, maybe.
I had an apartment that was right next to the Montrose Brown Line stop. And so, like, when I say right next to, like, apartment, alley, train track. So literally right next door to it.
The kind of shit you see in movies.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't bug me as much because I grew up near train tracks and stuff. But like, man, airplane, that's a totally different thing. Just, no. Dogs screaming at all hours of the day. Just can't handle that shit. Like, yeah.
And then even better, the landlord of that place, he was a super old white dude. And he called us after we basically told him we weren't interested because of a bunch of stuff. And he was like, I wonder if you would just reconsider taking the place because I showed it to some people who want it and I don't like the look of them. And I was like, I would love to know what you mean by I don't like the look of them because I bet I know what you mean. I can't be specific, but I bet I can get close to what you mean by don't like the look of them. I bet it wasn't that they were like greasers from the 50s. I bet it wasn't white dudes with slicked back hair carrying switchblades.
He's been next to the airport for so long, he's starting to selectively select people to get pre-screened.
So yeah, this foghorn, no thanks. My thoughts and prayers go out to you. Narragansett, Rhode Island. You're probably all listening to this, if you can hear it over the foghorn, just raging over how I pronounce the name of your town.
Maybe the foghorn's just sad.
Yeah.
Just crying.
Maybe just put another foghorn next to it. See if it, calms down.
No, because then you get foghorn sex sounds, and that's probably worse.
Oh, yeah. I bet that's really, really bad.
But then you'd have to wait 30 minutes before it could do it again. So it might be a win-win there.
All right. This next story. This cuts a little bit close to home, I think, for both of us.
Yep.
All 6 Chicago Bulls championship banners had to be removed from the United Center for the rest of the season. And you might be asking, why that is? It's because they sustained fire damage on account of the pyrotechnics at a fucking Disturbed concert.
No!
I want to put it out there right away. I am shocked Disturbed is playing arenas still. Are they huge still?
Yeah, United Center, man. Like, I'm surprised that they would be able to fill out fucking Rosemont or, I mean, Allstate now, but like, yeah.
Yeah. And when I read this, man, I just was really feeling the sickness in the pit of my stomach because way to set a literal part of my childhood on fire. David Draymond. I think that's the lead singer of Disturbed's name.
Yeah. Second worst Chicago rock musician in terms of personal stuff. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. For a second, I was like, who's the... Okay, yeah.
Billy Corgan's number one, obviously. And then if we're keeping it only to rock.
Yeah, only rock musician. Yeah. If you're expanding that to, R&B, maybe?
Yeah, King Kelly.
There's some others. I did not know Disturbed was from Chicago until I read this article. I don't know why I would have known where Disturbed was from, though.
I knew because, like, people would bring up Chicago bands. I'm like, oh, yeah, they suck. So...
Yeah, that would be weird to be like, oh, yeah, Chicago band. Like Disturbed? Like, you associate Disturbed with a place? That's weird. Nope. They just sound like the radio.
I think they should take their own advice and follow the sounds of silence. Don't want to be hearing them. Yeah.
Here is a quote from the United Center. The building itself said this. Following Saturday night's concert, United Center staff discovered minor damage to the Bulls championship banners that hang in the rafters. United Center is currently working with the Bulls to explore options to repair these banners. However, we don't anticipate them being back in place for the remainder of this season. We anticipate them being back in place next season. End quote. They're banners. Just make new ones.
It's Jerry Reinsdorf. That just means he's too cheap to put that on. Like, he's too cheap to expedite that shit. So, yeah, no, he's like, we got a whole off season. It's fucking April, gonna be soon. So, yeah, no, we're not doing that shit.
They're just going to hang them back up as is next season and be like, no, that's what they've always looked like. What do you mean?
Yeah, they got damaged in the Great Chicago Fire. You remember?
Cow knocked the thing over. Tragedy. Blackhawks banners were not damaged. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. But I've never cared about the Blackhawks, so just not a hockey guy, All right, this next story. This happened in Asheville, Ohio in October of last year, but there's recent updates to it. A 73-year-old woman named Joanne Eckelbarger was working in the garden in front of her home when she was attacked by two pit bulls, Apollo and Echo, very naughty boys, who belonged to Eckelbarger's neighbors, Adam Withers and his mom, Susan Withers. Joanne Eckelbarger was dismembered and killed in the attack. And the story somehow manages to get way sadder than that when you dive into the events leading up to it. But we'll pause. Just that part where this woman gets attacked and killed while working in her garden is insanely sad, especially the part where her husband is in a wheelchair and has dementia and just had to watch it happen and couldn't really do anything. Oof.
I don't blame pit bulls because, it's the owners, but just too many shitty people buy pit bulls or have pit bulls and they don't understand what it takes to control a pit bull or a Rottweiler or a big dog. It's just really frustrating as someone who really likes dogs.
These people were warned about their dog. We'll go through all the specifics, but they were warned multiple times. They were told to get rid of the dogs and they would just laugh at people. They were just like, take it if you want us to get rid of it. What are you going to do? One of the really sad things that happened in the lead up to this is how many times the condo association where they live tried to get these people to get rid of this dog. They had been sending them letters as far back as 2015 about complaints from people who were upset that they were letting these pit bulls run around unleashed, unchained, untethered, which I don't care what kind of dog you have. Don't fucking do that. Your dog's going to get hit by a car or it's going to fucking attack someone. It's a dog. Fucking leash it up. But they didn't.
Nope.
In November 2023, they ordered the dogs to be removed after they bit two people and killed another dog in a separate attack earlier that year. The Condo Association filed a civil suit against the Withers earlier this year after they failed to respond to any warnings or orders to remove the dogs. A judge ordered the dogs to be removed on September 11th, 2024. 2 weeks later, this is so wild, police responded to a call and found Adam Withers laying in the road intoxicated while his dogs ran loose. One of the dogs was unable to use its back legs. In a police report, there's this quote, "I believe that both of the dogs were exposed to the drugs that Adam was taking," end quote. And it turns out that I take bad notes and did not mention the drug in the notes here, cocaine. And the recent development is that the family has filed a lawsuit because it later was revealed that when these dogs attacked Joanne Eckelbarger, they were high on cocaine then, too. So these are pit bulls that were high on coke that attacked this woman.
You know how much of a piece of shit you gotta be to have two dogs that have drug problems? Like, you haven't just raised one dog with a cocaine addiction. You've got two of them just snorting lines.
And it happened multiple times? That seems like the kind of thing you accidentally, it happens once and you're like, shit, I got to keep that cocaine under lock and key away from these dogs. But no, not Adam Withers, I guess.
Like, even if you were just a shitty drug addict who didn't care about your dogs and stuff, you would care about your cocaine getting eaten by the dogs. Like, that's your cocaine. Wouldn't you have precautions against that? Like,
and also you would think ingesting cocaine would, I mean, pit bulls aren't small, but they're not human-sized. Were they actually like cutting up lines with a razor blade and snorting them? If so, where's that video?
those pit bulls got big noses. They got good sniffers.
I bet it was just something like that. I bet he just had it on a fucking table and dogs being dogs were like, hey, what's that? Let me give it a sniff. And they're like,
Just sniffed it up or licked it all up.
Yeah.
Putting it in their big dog gums, you know?
Yeah, there's video of police arriving on the scene. They shoot one dog and it just goes back to attacking this woman.
That's how you know it was cocaine.
Yeah. And the other dog just like charges at the cops as soon as they show up, which under normal circumstances, good puppy. But in this case,
I mean, it's sad because like the dog was on cocaine, so it had one of two options, either going crazy and attacking them or, you know, committing financial crimes like other people do on cocaine. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Or it was going to get arrested and, you know, it doesn't have the financial resources to navigate the American criminal justice system the way rich people do. And that dog was just going to be in jail, life ruined for years on end over one minor drug mistake and a vicious killing.
Yeah. Instead of killing her, the dog could have just bored her with stories about how crypto is the future. Dogecoin.
So after this incident with the dogs, where they were found to be high on cocaine before they attacked Joanne Eckelbarger, the town's chief dog warden, Preston Shoemaker, filed a series of charges against Adam Withers earlier this year, but all of them were dropped on account of them not being filed under the correct subset of the law. You know how it goes.
You know, there's so much laws that dog wardens have to keep track of. It's impossible to know them all, even when you're being paid as part of your job to know those.
Yeah, that blew my mind. How many charges like this are you filing? Was this the first one? How do you fuck that up?
Of all the people who get railroaded on shitty dog charges, the dude who fucking had so many drugs that his dogs had drugs somehow was scot-free and loose.
Yeah.
Like the one time the justice system didn't overextend its reach was this case.
And did they not just like refile the charges? What? I don't get that part either. Like was he just like, yeah, we tried. Well, fucking refile them. I don't know. So yeah, like I said, there's body cam video of this. Somehow not the most horrifying video you might encounter clicking through the articles we're talking about today, but that's foreshadowing for a later story. But yeah, like I said, it was revealed that the dogs were high on cocaine when they carried out this attack. And as a result, the family is filing lawsuits against pretty much everyone.
Oh, man. I hope they sue everyone left and right. Like, they were probably paying the condo association like hundreds of dollars every month, because that's how that works, for the privilege of having their grandmom dismembered by cocaine dogs.
Yeah, it really does blow my mind that at some point you can't just send the city out to take the dogs.
Yeah.
They've bit two people. They killed another dog. They need rehab, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
At what point does the city actually intervene? Because this carried on for such a long time. I don't get that part. They're just dogs. I mean, dogs are good dogs, obviously.
Even with the dogs, they had cocaine. Like,
yeah,
that's regular police issue, not dog police problem. Like,
just plant more coke on them.
Yeah.
Arrest them. Naughty puppies.
I'm trying to, like, obviously this is probably like a pit bull or like a mastiff would be the most dangerous dog on cocaine, but I'm trying to think of the most annoying dog on cocaine.
Oh, a Chihuahua, probably.
Chihuahua or a Dachshund? Like, oh God, little yappy.
Yeah, imagine like a cane corso on cocaine. Now that would be like Mike Tyson on cocaine.
I feel like a husky would get a lot of fucking work done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It also would never shut up. It would be like the foghorn.
Yeah. Huskies, having had one before, they have natural I'm high on cocaine energy.
Yeah. I mean, they like snow and they like snow. So
it is pretty intense. So, speaking of horrifying incidents involving animals that were caught on video started making the rounds last week showing a man in New York City, the Bronx specifically, eating a dead rat off the sidewalk. And in the video, what is so striking about it to me is it seems like he's kind of butchering it a little bit because he's cut it open and sorry, people listening to this, and he's like digging around in it with his hands.
He's picking it apart like you do a lobster, like when you're going in the innards.
Yeah, it looks like he knows what he's doing, kind of. Like maybe this isn't the first rat he's eaten. It's a horrifying video.
And he seems sober. Like, because like as soon as you sent me this, like I was like, oh, he must have been high as shit. And no, or at least less cocaine than a dog has usually. Like,
yeah, you expect the David Hasselhoff cheeseburger video, but just with someone with a rat in their hand instead. And it's not that. It's a guy sitting on a stoop and he is dissecting this rat, and then he just grabs a little piece of it and tosses it in his mouth. Doesn't even look at the woman filming him, who is losing her fucking mind the entire time.
Yeah.
I wonder if she was like further away than the video makes it seem and just zoomed in, because he doesn't even glance in her direction and she's being loud as shit.
Yeah, she's literally saying he's eating it out loud in the thickest Bronx accent you can imagine.
And yeah, he doesn't even acknowledge that he's being filmed or watched or hooted and hollered about.
I mean, New York rats, they just taste different than other rats because, the water they got there, it's just so much better.
Yeah, maybe he got one of them pizza rats.
You can't get rats like that in LA. They don't taste the same. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't get a rat at 4 a.m. in LA.
Yeah.
What?
And Chicago rats aren't even rats. They're just casserole rats or whatever the fuck New Yorkers like to say.
Yeah. I think people would be surprised to know New York City always gets credit as the city with the most rats, but it's not. It's actually third, at least as of 2023. I have a Orkin sweatshirt that they put out in celebration of Chicago being named Rattiest City in 2023. It's got a little cartoon rat with sunglasses on it. Very cute. And then LA is number 2.
Well, I mean, the New York population goes down like one rat at a time.
So there isn't much more information to this, but how much more information do people need? The city has responded to this video and they're like, someone fucking find that guy so we can get him in a hospital. You can die from eating rats.
Yeah, I want to make clear, Adam and I are not medical professionals, but in our studies, eating rats that you find dead on the sidewalk is usually a bad time, medicinally speaking.
Don't do it. Don't do it. They carry pathogens and also can carry something called ectoparasites, which are leeches that infest the outer layer of your skin. Yikes. Yeah, don't eat rats. We've covered 2 different examples of this. Also, don't eat banana slugs. There were 2 different stories in the past few years of people who were a little drunk and just on a dare, they saw a banana slug and were like, I'm going to eat it. And they ate it, and banana slugs carry this disease I think it's called rat lungworm disease, something like that. And it basically, you're just like trapped in your body. You can't move, you can't talk, but you're completely cognizant. And so you got here because you ate a banana slug. and you just are trapped in your body thinking about that the rest of your life until you die. Fun. Very fun. But you won that bet. So got that going for you. All right. San Francisco is where this next story happened. Jose Vicente Badillo, 29, and 4 co-conspirators were indicted recently over a scheme to set the trucks of rival towing companies on fire to drive or not drive more business to his own towing company. On the one hand, kind of a brilliant scheme. Mm-hmm. They are accused of setting fire to at least 6 tow trucks across the Bay Area on 4 occasions between April and October 2023. But he apparently also targeted these trucks because of perceived wrongs that these companies committed against him, which I can't imagine what that would be.
The high stakes world of towing company rivalries. A lot of prestige dramas on Sunday nights on HBO about towing empires.
It seems from the LA Times article that we'll link to about this, that this Badillo fella is just a prolific scammer in general.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's only 29, but he's already going to be in the Hall of Fame by the time he's got credentials. So, yeah.
He learned from someone. Because you don't just develop skills like this naturally by the age of 29. You gotta go to school for shit like this. He was charged with auto insurance fraud on August 9th of last year, along with a woman named Jessica Elizabeth Najarro. In that scheme, he purchased an undrivable vehicle with severe front-end damage, transferred ownership to Najarro, and then she got insurance on the car and filed a claim for that front-end damage. I'm surprised that didn't work, honestly. They must have been too greedy about it.
Yeah.
He first landed on the radar of San Francisco authorities in October 2023 when he and his girlfriend, Abigail Fuentes, were charged in a welfare fraud scheme. Very simple. Abigail worked at the welfare office, and he went in and applied, and she approved his application, even though the two of them were running 3 towing companies that generated $2 million in gross annual income. That part I don't get. How much fucking welfare money were you getting to make that scheme worth it if you're generating $2 million a year? I don't understand.
This woman was so brazen that she had him come to her office, where presumably people know that might be her boyfriend, and apply for welfare. And they're just like, wait, what?
And I say, how much money could it be? But one of the uncomfortable truths about welfare and people abusing it, a lot of times it's rich people. There are way more rich people than anyone would care to believe who are getting food stamps just because they can.
Remember those pandemic loans that everybody took out? Yeah.
We just did an episode about this brothel ring that was operating in Boston. We did that on the Conspiracy podcast. And we made a joke about whether they maybe got those COVID payroll protection loans. And someone in the comments was like, they did. I looked it up. They did. So this welfare thing led to more scrutiny of the couple's business practices, at which point it was discovered they'd also been profiting from illegal tows. This is some brazen shit. And the only reason they were found out is it was caught on video. They pulled up in front of a woman's car while she was driving in traffic. They pull a tow truck in front of her, back up and try to just latch her car and pull off with it. This is a quote. We were freaking out, calling and basically rolling down our window and saying, hey, what are you doing? You can't be doing that. He started backing up and his lever came down and basically he was just backing up trying to latch onto our car. End quote. So they were just trying to tow people who were already in traffic. That is amazing.
You could tell that she was like completely thrown off guard because she did that thing where people are just like, hey, you can't do that. Like, just the shock. Like, yeah. Also, I want to say, if he's doing this, why didn't he just tow those other tow trucks instead of setting them on fire? Think smarter, not harder, dumbass.
That would be the ultimate flex. You just tow one of your competitors' tow trucks while they're in traffic towing another car.
Then you just repaint their tow trucks as your tow trucks. Like, no, this is mine. I had this the whole time. What are you talking about? No? Yeah.
Kill the guy that was driving the tow truck. Jesus.
You work for me now. What? I've adopted you and now you're my welfare child. Just bring the whole thing full circle.
And this story is another obvious example of why dashboard cameras are becoming so prevalent in the United States now and why they should be. It's because of shit like this. I know back when we worked at Cracked, there was this point where all these crazy videos were coming out of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was the most famous one is the meteor video, where there's like a fucking meteor that flies through the sky and crashes and explodes, and it's someone in their car. And the reason those videos were so common and coming out of Russia is because everyone had a dashboard camera, because schemes like this were so common in Russia. And you're seeing it now here too. I've seen dashboard camera video where people will be driving and someone will pull in front of them, stop, and if that car doesn't hit them, they'll back up and hit that car and then get out, pretend to be hurt, filming with their cameras, and then the driver's like, you're on camera, everything you did, we saw. But if you don't have that dashboard camera, how do you prove that they towed your car while you were in traffic?
Yeah, you're not the police. You can't just say shit happened and then people assume that it did.
Yeah, exactly. And who are the police going to, and honestly, who are the police going to believe? The tow truck company or you? They're going to believe the tow truck company. I feel like this guy's definitely going to stop committing crimes now, though.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, yeah, he had a good run. He's going to retire early like Barry Sanders.
Top of his game.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this next story. I feel like this is a thing we are going to start seeing a lot more of over the next few years. Lincoln Heights, Ohio, it's a predominantly black community about 30 minutes north of Cincinnati. So you know they love their Skyline chili, which is disgusting, but I'm not here to judge.
They're just eating their Skyline chili on a peaceful February morning.
Exactly.
Because it's a breakfast food.
3 meals a day. In Ohio, Skyline chili, everyone knows. It's just a matter of breakfast, no crackers, lunch, crackers, obviously. On February 7th, a neo-Nazi group waving swastika flags and shouting racial slurs protested on a highway overpass right at the edge of this community. Police responded. Logan, you're not going to believe this. No arrests were made. They didn't take down any names or identifying information. And even worse, here's a quote. They've been very clear that if it happens again, they'll allow it to happen again, that their hands are tied, end quote. That is Durance Daniels.
I mean, how could they arrest themselves?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Good point.
That's why they didn't took any names down. It's like they got their name tag on their uniform right there. Like they know, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't need to write it down. So inspired by the lack of police response, Lincoln Heights residents came up with a new plan of action. They started the Lincoln Heights Safety and Watch program. And I know you're probably thinking, so like what? A neighborhood watch program? And sure, but if the people watching are standing on the street with AR-15s and wearing masks and tactical gear, which I do think people on the right are a little too secure in this belief that they have all the guns and that people who would maybe vote Democrat just across the board are anti-gun and would never have guns. We got guns. Don't worry about that. And this is evidence of that. This is not illegal guns. These are guns that the people in this area are allowed to own under the same laws in Ohio that allow Nazis to walk around open carrying guns. The people in this neighborhood are allowed to open carry guns on the street and wear tactical gear and maybe even point that gun at you if you're threatening someone in the neighborhood.
Fun fact, the reason we have gun control laws is because black people started buying guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Black Panthers started having guns, and then white people were like, oh, no, we need to take care of this shit. Yeah, no, we can't have this.
That's always been not really my pushback, but just something people need to think about when you're like, why can't this country just confiscate all guns? It's like, you want to send a heavily militarized police force into neighborhoods that have been terrorized by the police for decades in the name of rounding up guns. That is not going to go the way you think in so many ways. So many ways. We are not fucking Australia. It is never going to be as easy as just take all the guns. Okay, try it. Anyway, what I'm getting at is Democrats have guns too. People on the left have guns. But here's a quote also from Durrance Daniels. I've never felt safer as a black man in my community than I have right now. These are my friends. These are my cousins, my brothers, my sisters, my aunties. I like this. I mean, it is absolutely going to have to come to this in some areas, because one thing people don't take into account when it comes to the police and underserved communities, they are often underserved by the police also. Mm-hmm. And even if you are comfortable enough to call the police, it's going to take a long time for them to get there. So if you're living in a state where you can just carry a gun and use it to defend yourself if worse comes to worse, why not?
Also, again, like in this case, the police are probably not getting the call because they're off duty. So they're just turning off their work phone while they're, busy doing the terrorism shit.
They're busy protesting on overpasses.
Like I said, this is just history repeating itself type stuff. Like, black communities did not feel safe, and rightfully so back then. So they started using their legal right to get guns. And then white lawmakers were like, okay, we're going to stop this. Yeah,
Lincoln Heights, it was formed in 1923 for black families escaping the South, incorporated in 1946 as the, quote, first African-American self-governing community north of the Mason-Dixon line, end quote, according to the town's website. So, the racists hate this place. Here is a quote from the sheriff of Hamilton County, which is where Lincoln Heights is. They feel the need to arm their residents, and they're allowed to. At some point, we're going to likely face a very dangerous situation that we are trained to handle, but the unknown is who else is armed? How many juveniles are standing around with a gun in their hand? I cannot be more emphatic that this issue that we're embedded in and the way that people are reacting and acting with guns, with open carry, is directly related to the inaction of legislators who say they support law enforcement, who say they support families and order, and they do not, end quote. Seeing as how that's a cop, I cannot tell if they're talking about Republicans or Democrats when they say that.
Especially a cop in Ohio.
Yeah, that is Hamilton County Sheriff Charmaine McGuffrey. And I don't know. I don't know what side of this fight Charmaine falls on.
And this isn't going to be the first story of stuff like this happening, especially with more and more Nazis just walking around doing Nazi shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we also see the reverse of this, where you get towns popping up where they're like, black people, they're not allowed here. This is Trump's America. We keep black people out of this town. And like that shit could carry on for a long time and we just would not know.
We're going to go from sundown towns to just no time of day period towns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Good times. Good times.
But on the plus side, at least we eliminated a bunch of government waste thanks to Doge. So, everything's fine.
Yeah. Did you get your Doge check yet?
Yeah.
I think we're all supposed to get a check from all the money saved. So,
yeah, I used that to buy several Teslas with all of my money.
Yeah. I started several businesses. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm a tech bro. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Donald Trump. Won't be the last time we say that on this episode. But first, I don't know why I got that lift in my voice when introducing this next story, because holy shit. I often, when we do these episodes, at the end of a story, I'll be like, we'll keep tabs on this. And I never do. I almost never do. I'm going to fucking keep tabs on this story. It reminds me of the Hana Kobayashi case, which happened in LA recently. If people don't remember, or she is a woman from Hawaii who flew to LAX and was supposed to fly on to, I think, New York, missed her flight and just went missing. People were like, she's been sex trafficked. She's in a cult now. And eventually she popped up in Mexico and was just like, I kind of hate my family,
Didn't her dad commit suicide while looking for her?
Yes. Very, very strange story. Very strange. And this one reminds me of it a whole lot. Twin brothers Kadir and Nazir Lewis, both 19, were found shot to death last week by a hiker at the summit of Bell Mountain in Georgia, near the North Carolina border. That was especially surprising news to their family, who thought the two of them were in Boston visiting friends. They had flights booked to Boston at 7 a.m. on March 7th. The articles I've read don't make it clear whether they're flying out of Atlanta or Lawrenceville. They're from Lawrenceville, and there is an airport in Lawrenceville. I looked it up. But either way, they somehow missed their flight and were found shot dead at the summit of a mountain approximately 24 hours later with their tickets still in their wallets. And for right now, the always trustworthy Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the FBI of state investigations units in Georgia, has ruled the deaths a murder-suicide, but they haven't specified which brother is supposed to have done the shooting. And the family, as you'd expect, is like, nope. That doesn't sound right.
Seems fishy.
Yeah, if I was the family, I would absolutely want to know what evidence they have that this was a murder-suicide. Because I looked it up, and if they were flying out of the Atlanta airport, it would take them over 3 hours to get to Bell Mountain. If they were flying out of the Lawrenceville airport, it would take closer to 2 hours. Either way, unless Google Maps just got it wrong, there are no public transportation options to get from either airport to Bell Mountain. So how did they get there? Did they rent a car? Seems like we would know that if that was the case. And if they didn't rent a car, how the fuck did they get to the summit of that mountain?
Yeah, this is one of those, like, when you get a case on Unsolved Mysteries, you're like, there's a lot of details missing from this fucking bullshit story.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, no, I'm not buying this at all. Just, first off, yeah. One, how did they get there? Where's the car if they rented a car? If they took an Uber or something, how the hell did the Uber driver not just report that, oh yeah, no, I drove two guys who looked exactly alike 3 hours to a mountain and then never saw them again until they were mentioned dead on the news. Like,
yeah. And it kind of feels similar to that completely valid complaint people have about coverage of crimes and disappearances, where if it's, usually pretty white woman.
If these were two white double mitt twins, this would have had so much more coverage and actual FBI instead of the GBI on this case.
Yeah, and like even the Hannah Kobayashi thing, we had surveillance video from inside the airport almost immediately in the Hannah Kobayashi thing. We had surveillance video from all over the place. Where's the fucking surveillance video of these two? Did they even make it to the fucking airport? You're right. There are so many questions. How do you just immediately rule, oh, murder-suicide? Obviously.
It happens a lot with young black men found dead in certain parts of the South. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of times where you'll see like, oh, a young black man was found hanging from a tree. Clearly suicide. No other options other than that. Because,
No.
Hang yourself. You're going to go to the middle of the woods rather than just literally any place else to hang yourself. Like, yeah. So,
yeah. My favorite, which is a weird way to put it, but the absolute craziest, I'll put it that way, suspicious suicide story of all time is Terry Yeeke. He was one of the first cops on the scene at the Oklahoma City bombing. And forever and ever and ever after that, or at least as long as he was alive, he was like, Oklahoma City is not what people are saying it is. It was a completely different thing. And he was like committed to like exposing the truth about Oklahoma City. Eventually committed suicide he pulled over in his car, apparently slashed himself a whole bunch with a knife because he was cut up a bunch, but didn't die. He gets out of his car, walks a mile into the woods where at one point he would have had to like scale a fence and cross a body of water, gets into the woods where he then finally shoots himself with a gun that was found 50 feet away and not until the FBI showed up. But that was ruled a suicide. It's like, it sounds like the FBI might have landed in a helicopter and killed him. Like, what the fuck? But ruled a suicide. So yeah. And Terry Yeeke is a black man also.
One of the frustrating things, like, that's why you said you'll keep an eye on this, is there's really not a lot of details. Like, there's no details really on these twins or just like their mental well-being or just like who they really were. Like, it's kind of a fresh story. So like, I kind of want to get more details and stuff, but this seems fishy as shit. So
it sure does. And it could turn out that it was indeed a murder-suicide, but damn,
it's a little early to jump on that train just off of what we have, like, information-wise. Like, it's just, so.
There's definitely a danger in them writing it off that way. I know this is going to get into conspiracy theory stuff and people won't like it, but that's what happened with Kurt Cobain. At the time when he died, the Seattle Police Department had this rule in place that if any cop determined that what happened was a suicide, they just didn't investigate it. So this beat cop was like, yeah, that was a suicide.
Well, I mean, Ted Cruz's dad killed Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
If I'm puzzling things correctly from just the various conspiracy things I've heard, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Ted Cruz's dad. Same day he killed JFK, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Kurt Cobain thing is weird, but mostly just because the forensic evidence doesn't really point to it being a suicide.
So with this, if there's no like car evidence or anything, are they just like, they walked this far and then they scaled a mountain to get to the summit? Like,
and I know police love to deliver that, oh, well, it's an active investigation, so we can't comment on it. Sounds like this isn't active anymore. Sounds like you figured out what happened, so you can comment on it.
Yeah.
So give us more details if murder-suicide is your claim. And it's clear that they haven't given the family those crucial details because the family is also like, what? No.
Oh, yeah. No, if I was this family, I'd be like, this is straight up bullshit. I wouldn't shut up about this. Like, yeah, no, this is not, I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, seems like you done your jobs. Case closed.
And this really is a thing. Like, what do you do? What do you do if the FBI is never, if the GBI never makes any other determination? They're just like, yeah, murder-suicide. Sorry. Fucking investigate it yourself. I don't know.
Well, I mean, eventually we already talked about people having to defend themselves against Nazis. Now we're going to have...
our own investigation units.
Yeah.
Good times. Hey, speaking of that, new recurring segment alert. Our president demands respect, Logan. He demands gratitude. Mm-hmm. And we will be giving it to him in this new recurring segment called Thanks, Trump. I don't know if that sounds familiar. I feel like I might have co-opted that from somewhere, but I don't know where. Up first, let us give all thanks and praise for the more than 300 measles cases that have now been confirmed across more than a dozen U.S. states. That didn't take long at all. We got RFK Jr. in government in a health care role, and measles are fucking back.
I'd like to point out that like in 2000, measles was declared dead. So, yeah.
Yeah, this was announced by the CDC, which I'm glad they're still able to make announcements like this. They'll probably be shut down sooner than later, the way things are going. And they point out the actual count is probably higher, but they're aware of other probable cases that haven't been confirmed and therefore aren't part of the count yet. Until they get their George Soros check, they're not up in that count. Biggest outbreaks are in Texas. Congratulations, Logan.
That's me.
Yeah.
We're number one. We're number one. Hook 'em horns.
New Mexico, of course. But there are also cases in Alaska, California, not to brag, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Washington. And as of very recently, Maryland, New York, and Vermont. Woo!
The CDC should say cases not applicable in Alaska and Hawaii. Just the 48 continental United States. We don't count those other ones.
So yeah, this is one of the most contagious viruses in the world. It's airborne, spreads easily when an infected person breathes, sneezes, or coughs. And on the bright side, it's not usually deadly unless you're a kid. Kills kids, mostly. So fucking party it up in downtown Nashville or whatever you right-wingers are going to do when this starts really killing people.
Spit in each other's mouths,
yeah,
man. It's
fucking
world.
Lick each other's fingers, whatever you're going to do. It's only going to kill your kids, you fucking monsters. That's what bothers me so much, especially about measles and these fucking parents who are like, I don't know, it might not be safe. Bitch, you got one. You probably got a measles vaccine. What happened? You didn't get measles, but beyond that, what else? Can you not play guitar anymore, Eric Clapton? Like, what the fuck happened that you won't vaccinate your kids against measles.
I grew up to be Rob Schneider. No child should have a life of that.
That would be a valid reason. If you were like, look what they did to Rob Schneider.
You want your kids growing up to be Kevin Sorbo?
And yeah, with measles, it's killing kids. It's not like COVID obviously killed kids too, but measles focuses on kids. It mostly kills kids. So it's so goddamn selfish to be like, well, I heard on Joe Rogan that the vaccine might not be safe. And despite me having had 2 in my lifetime, I'm siding with Joe Rogan and I'm going to let my kids roll the dice on this. You are an awful fucking parent if you're doing that. And I don't know. While Texas is busy trying to fucking arrest abortion providers, why don't we fucking arrest parents whose kids die of measles when they refuse to get them vaccinated?
It's not just so, like, you're going to talk about some of the horrible things that come from measles, but one thing you left off is that measles can be a cause of what they call immunization amnesia. So basically, it'll destroy antibodies that you developed when you were exposed to like other stuff, like say chicken pox when you were younger or something like that. So you basically just like get all of that shit wiped out, even if you had like a vaccine for stuff earlier. Like it just erases your immune history. So you're back at 0 with that shit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Among kids with measles, around 1 in 20 develops pneumonia. That is a big percentage. 1 in 20? Damn. And about 1 in 1,000 suffer swelling of the brain called encephalitis, which can lead to convulsions, deafness, or intellectual disability, or death. So far, 1 confirmed death in Texas. Another death in New Mexico is being investigated as possibly measles related also. 95% of the kids who have been infected were not vaccinated, and most of the cases are children. So again, way to go, parents.
Yeah.
You're killing your kids to own the libs. And if you're an adult who's worried about this, you probably don't. I mean, if you have kids, you need to be worried about it in that way. But as an adult, you probably don't have to get a measles booster, but it's also not dangerous to get one if you just like want to fucking...
Yeah, nothing bad's going to happen if you double up.
If you want to placebo effect that shit or whatever the fucking secret, but you probably got all the measles vaccines you need as a kid. And that's why measles was dead by 2000, because you got vaccinated. So you're probably fine. I actually got the COVID and flu vaccines last week, or boosters. I made it sound like I finally took the leap and got those vaccines. Man, I don't know what I was so scared of. No, I got boosters.
It's too late for you to turn to Rob Schneider. You're a grown man.
And I asked the pharmacist at the time about measles, and he was like, if you got them as a kid, you're probably fine. So keep that in mind, adults. It's just kids that are dying from your fucking vaccine stance.
I think if you are insistent, you can get like a blood thing done where they check if your immunity is still there for MMR. Because when you get the measles vaccines, it's measles, mumps, and rubella at the same shot. So I think they've checked it, and like usually it sticks around, but maybe your mumps one might disappear. So, you know, maybe it's worth checking out if you're immunocompromised, or also not a dick. So, yeah.
Don't be a dick. Yeah, I remember missing the first day of high school one year because I hadn't gotten my vaccinations yet. So I had to go to the health department and get them. Otherwise, they would not let me back in school.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Illinois.
Yeah. So I'm pretty confident I got the vaccines I need. But yeah, if you're not, then go get that blood test or just go get another fucking measles shot. You'll be fine. You were fine the first time. You'll be fine again. And, you know, thanks, King Trump. Measles are back. Woo! Good times. And I think that's our episode.
Yeah, we're still at a
we did it.
Level of, so.
Yeah, we're still at the proper level of enthusiasm about life. Fucking temper that shit right now until things are out. Don't be too happy. It's gonna wear on people.
Yeah.
Words to live by in these trying times. Hey, Logan, thanks for doing the pod. As always, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
What do we have to plug before we get out of here? Follow me on Blue Sky, Adam Todd Brown. .bsky.social. That's Todd with 1D. Or just look me up on Blue Sky. You can find me there. I'm not really fucking with any of the other social media platforms anymore. So if you want to follow me anywhere, follow me there. I'm going to start using Substack more also, but not this week. Follow me on Blue Sky. Logan, what do you want to plug?
Follow me on Blue Sky too. I'm at the Logan Trent Blue Sky or whatever the thing usually is there. Also, don't commit genocide.
What?
Seems like we're ramping back up for the summer genocide season following yesterday. So, oof.
It sure does. It sure seems that way.
Then, we're getting to March Madness season, which means we're getting to WNBA season. So WNBA with me and Adam should be around in maybe a month or so. Yeah. So check that out because we're going to have a lot of fun this season because it's going to be crazy. So
it will be back.
Speaking of people with open carry, Caitlin Clark's got the gun show now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark's been pumping iron. That's why she's not playing in Unrivaled. She's fucking in the gym right now. Right now, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. Look that picture up, people. Caitlin Clark, she's fucking packing heat now. And also the genocide thing. I just want to remind people that erasing history is also a version of genocide. So keep that in mind when our government is altering fucking Medal of Honor recipients' website pages to call them DEI.
Or getting rid of Jackie Robinson's page, too. That was a special one right there.
Yeah, there was also a page about a platoon in World War II that was from Hawaii that was mostly Japanese soldiers. That was one of the most decorated in World War II. And they altered that page, I think, to take any references of their ethnicity and nationality out of it, which also a form of genocide, everybody.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there. Look it up.
And that's why we're at level.
Yeah. We're at the level we should be at. So that's it. Let's get the fuck out of here. Logan, say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you.